Morning, everyone. How are you guys doing today? I am never live in the morning. I'm just turning on Amazon Live. So again, I've got to get used to doing all the things, but it's so good to see you guys this morning. I'm Kathy Hester, cookbook author and blogger at plantbasedinstantpot.com and healthyslowcooking.com. And I think I forgot to put this in the carousel, but this is one of my books. And in fact, this is one of my books that has my super easy cold brew coffee recipe. So what I want you to know is, good morning, Linda. It's awesome to see you. You don't have to drink coffee to enjoy this live. So I'm going to show you some different things that are not just coffee. And in fact, we're going to use my favorite coffee alternative to make a batch of cold brew as well, which is Teccino. Can you guys see that a little bit? Not much, huh? Let's see if we can see it from overhead better. Woo, there we go. This is so this one is the gluten-free one. So it's dandelion dark roast, okay? So what I just want you to understand, hey Joanne, it's awesome to see you as always. Let me put you guys up here. Yay. And if you're watching on Amazon Live, please go ahead and give me a follow because I'm going to be giving you some pretty awesome recipes for the next little while. So I am making my first coffee of the day, so this should be interesting doing a live. But what I want you to know is that you can have amazing cold brew coffee, regular decaf or coffee free, in your own home and make your own cold foam and not pay like $7 plus $1 extra for whatever plant-based milk you want. A treat I gave myself, I am on YouTube, but Karen, I can see you on Facebook. So the way this works is I'm on Ecamm going through Restream and being on Amazon, and the only comments that don't come through to me on this front screen is Amazon, which is why I keep looking down. Oh, you guys are so awesome. A Brazen Spirituality. Yay, you were just like killing it as far as catching me live. And basically when I go live, unless I'm just streaming on one platform, which happens sometimes, I go live on multiple Facebook platforms. I've even been going live on Twitch, YouTube, and Amazon. And Mary says good morning, and Kathy says good morning. And Karen says, great. And that's how I feel about this morning, is great. Okay, so I'm gonna make a coffee first so that I can drink some and be more coherent through this live. And anyhow, so this is some cold brew I already made. We are later gonna make some. So you're gonna see what happens and that I use this little guy, but you can also use a French press, and honestly, you can use a mason jar. It's not brain surgery. Cold brew coffee, the reason I drink cold brew instead of regular brew coffee is that it's less acidic, which gives it a milder flavor for those people like me that like their coffee mild. My friend Jenny Field likes her coffee acidy and spiky like she is sometimes and like I am sometimes. So we disagree on coffee completely. So if you like those acids and those things like that, you may not be a cold brew fan. So go out and maybe buy one of those things that has cold brew in it, taste it and see if you're a fan or not. Karen says coffee is like speed for me. It is. And you know, I spent 2 years not having caffeine, and last month I started having 1 caffeine a day again. We'll see how long that lasts, but that's why I want you to know you can still have this deliciousness. And the thing is if you want to buy cold brew out at your favorite coffee house, there's a 99% chance they're not going to have decaf cold brew. So that's another reason to make it at home. And I've not seen anywhere, and we'll talk about the Teccino method of brewing as well, because they don't recommend this method of brewing, but I do. I'm disagreeing with them, but it could be the way I like things. So we're going to talk about this foam stuff, okay? I'm used to these these little comments going away. All right. So, and if you want to, if you're like, I don't know what's going on, where is she talking about this carousel? Go to Amazon.com, up at the top, click live streams, and you can look down and you can find me, and then you'll see links to buy all these things. That's all that is. You can also go to my influencer page if you know where that is. I'll try and drop a link next time, and I made an idea list as well. So I did put one of these Orca mugs on the carousel because it is my favorite. I'm not putting coffee in it today, and they don't have the cool witchy pattern on Amazon, but I got this around Halloween. It says double, double, boil and toil and trouble, boil and trouble. That's me thinking like someone in the kitchen who has not had her coffee. Hocus pocus, there's brooms and witch hats and all the things I love. But also this keeps things really, really cold, and it's really cute. It's called, Orca is the brand. It's got this little whale tail, which is pretty awesome. I know, Joanne says it's going to be a full menu of cooking classes. I know at 4 p.m. today, I'm going to be cooking can of beans cooking class, and you can go to kathyhester.podia.com, podia.com, and if you want, you can purchase that and come join us. But yeah, I was like, can you guys hear that bird? There's a very loud bird outside. Maybe, I know this microphone does some stuff, so like it lowers the volume of some things. So if you want that super fluffy, I call it fluff on top. Ray Dunn calls it froth, right? Lattes call it foam, so it just depends. So I'm going to be using my Vitamix for part of today. So we've got 2 methods of making this foam. There's really more than 2, but these are the best 2 and the easiest 2. And Brazen says she misses her coffee so much, but I have to drink coffee sparingly. I miss being young and feisty. Well, I am neither of those things, but thank you for even thinking that I could be. And that's the thing. I don't know, Brazen, can you have the Teccino? What's in what makes the regular Teccino gluten-y is that it has barley in it, which is delicious, in fact, delicious in this kind of coffee. And this has carob, chicory, dandelion root, organic, is it Ramon seeds? There's 50-50 about that one, and natural coffee flavor. So I like it. The dandelion is a little more bitter, but you can usually, like with the carob, and then in the regular flavors, they have dates, so it's even a little bit sweeter. Joanne says, yes, I can hear that bird. Yeah, that bird's loud. We've got some loud birds, and they like to hang out right by the kitchen door. And I think with this new one, unless did I move the book in the way? Sort of. You guys can kind of see out there. That's where they're hanging out. And yes, that is a palm tree. And I am in North Carolina. Life is exciting, isn't it? Okay, we're going to use this later. This is an adapter to make the Vitamix into a personal blender. And if you've ever been testy about certain things, this is helpful. It definitely is helpful. It is not inexpensive, but neither was your Vitamix. So I just have a regular old Vitamix. I don't have a fancy one. This is called the Air Disc. And you see how this is very different than the little blades that go around? This little dooley dop is getting on my nerves. And Linda says that bird is letting all of his pals know to be in your yard to catch your live. I wish they were that productive. I tell you that for sure. Okay, so what happens, this is, I don't know if I can see. Okay, here we go. I can see on here. This is $120.17. It's 22% off right now, as per Amazon at this moment. And what it does is it whips up the air and makes a nice cold foam. It's also good to make cocktail mixes or lemonades. Cocktails are mocktails, right? It doesn't have to be one or the other. So you can actually take citrus fruit and slice it, seeds and all, and put in there and then strain it. Oh my gosh, it makes the best citrus base for anything. And it makes a killer margarita. But if you go to Starbucks and that's where you get your cold foam, this is what they're making it in. And also, usually they will say they can only make it with dairy milk because all milks do not froth equally. So we're going to talk about a couple that froth really well. So I find that Oatly froths really well. This is one of my favorites, is Califia Oat Barista. And it does, almost all the barista blends have some oil in it. So if you're avoiding oil, and actually, I have one that we can talk about. Do I have two? I don't know we'll look at Joy a little bit more another time too. But I'm also going to make some of this Joy creamer. And let's move it where you can see. I've got to stop looking up there making. So this is their creamer. And it's cashew, hazelnut, and oat. And I know you can't see that very well, but I will read the ingredients out to you. And we're going to make a batch of this too. And I like it because it doesn't have any oil, but if I remember correctly, yeah, this one has a little bit of salt. It's the only Joy one that does. They have an oat. So like all the ones that have nuts are basically butters. The oat is dry and it's been treated with an enzyme just like Oatly and any other oat milk that you love that isn't slimy. And oats are the only ingredient besides the treated enzyme. This has cashews, oats, hazelnuts, organic pea protein, and a little bit of Himalayan sea salt. So this is the only salted one. The oat version of theirs froths up pretty well too. Oh, that breeze feels good. Is it hot where you guys are? Because it's already hot here. That's just kind of crazy. Oh, awesome. And Biking to Work is here. Oh, Biking to Lose is here on Amazon. Okay, so I'm going to make my coffee so that I can be more concise for the rest of the time. So I'm going to use this oat barista blend. And we're going to find alternatives, and some things are going to froth more than others. This froths awesome. So I'm going to put, I don't know, let's do about a cup. Because if I froth too much, I'll just make something else with it later. You guys, you see it. All right, so what we're going to do, and I think you're going to see it better here, is we're going to start this up. We're going to go slow for a little bit, medium for a little bit, and then high for a little bit. What you should see is the volume of this increase, and you'll see two colors. One is just the pure foam, and the other is the milk. So I like both in my coffee. And it takes about a minute or so, I'd say. And what that disc is doing is it's introducing air into the barista blend. It's starting to get bigger. Okay, and let's take a look. Now first, let's look at I usually look at the numbers. Where's the numbers? Yeah, so it's about 1.5. So it's gone up that way in volume. Okay. And you can see that this is a lot frothier than it was before. This is what the froth looks like. So see how it's pretty thick? We'll look from the front too, because you'll see that pretty good that way too. So if I'm taking some of this froth, see how it's thick and it stays together like frothy. And that's what we're paying the big bucks for. Honestly. That's why you're going to Starbucks or somewhere else. Let me go ahead and we'll make my coffee. So I've got a little bit of maple syrup in there. And I'm going to show you the other way that we can froth, which is a little, this is the cute Ray Dunn one that says froth on it. You don't have to have this one, but basically 2 batteries go in here. This has little whiskey things. You might see some immersion blenders that also have this attachment, and that's fine. Basically, you push this top button, and this goes. And you're probably thinking, that's not going to do nothing. Well, let's find out, shall we? So usually I'll put my sweetener, and again, I've got a little bit of maple syrup in there, and I'll whip it together. If you have too much syrup, it's going to weigh down the milk. So that's not super helpful. And then here, now we don't want to get this part with the battery wet, but you don't really have to worry about that much. This way I'm mixing my maple syrup in with there. You can see the color is significantly darker because of the maple syrup. But what I want you to see is look at that. The foam is really pretty darn close. And I can keep doing it longer to get a better foam on it. And this is also doing the same thing, introducing air into it. Oh, that's great. So Biking to Lose is asking, wondering how it will work with plant-based milks. Well, this is a plant-based milk. So this one is the oat barista, and we just talked about that a minute ago. So any of the barista blends are going to really just foam up just like this, which is really great. Now I want you to notice that it's a little bit different, these foams. This one, you know, you can tell that you paid less than $20 for this and you paid $120 for that. But here's the thing, it doesn't matter. It's still amazing froth. It just, if you have a preference, I own both. And so what I'm gonna do, and I'll just show you really quick, is literally what I do is I take this to the sink, I make sure I don't get this battery part, and I just rinse this real good. If I'm doing something that has like a mocha, then I might need to scrub it off just a little bit. Yeah, the Vitamix foam is a thicker foam. So let's see. So like, but this is not a bad foam, right? It's just, this is almost like tinier little bits of bubble stuff in it. Both are good. Get the one that fits into your budget. I got this in 2020 when we kind of locked in. And I was like, it more than paid for itself, I'll tell you that. So this is my cold brew coffee, and here's another thing, when you make cold brew at home, you can make any flavor you want, and I love like nutty flavors. So I believe this one's like a macadamia nut. Southern pecan is really good as well. And then I'm just, like, you're gonna see how much milk I do to coffee, and you're gonna be like, you don't even drink coffee. So my one coffee is perhaps not as much as many other people's one coffees. And then I'll put a little ice in there. And I'll put a little more ice in there. I like crushed ice. It makes me feel like I'm having a fancy coffee house drink. And that's the way I like it. You should drink it the way you like it. And I love maple. and you could add a little bit of vanilla in there. We're going to talk a little bit about syrups and things like that as well. Let me see if I have any. But yeah, the Vitamix foam is a little bit different, and you'll notice there's still some milky part under the foam. You could always take the foam out and then run the air disc again to get more of that. I like a mix of it personally, and it's delicious. I think this week or next week, maybe what we'll do too is we'll make some syrups. I'm going to talk about a couple of syrups that I like. And now let's look at one way to make cold brew. So this comes out like this. It's got a nice seal. Basically, it looks like a giant tea strainer. It's a coffee strainer. We're going to put that in there. And then this is just glass. And we've got a little lid so that you can leave it in the fridge or whatever you want to do. So we're going to use the Teccino. And how I usually do this is I put at least half. Typically, these cold brew coffee makers make it on the lighter side. And you want to use, here, let's see. I'm going to see if I can make this work. I should use a little less than that, but that finishes off this bag. So all bets are off. And then what you're going to do, you can do this over the sink. Since I don't have a sink right here, we're just kind of letting them wet. And I'll let you see from the front. You'll see it come out of some of the holes. You could have your, like I have that little faucet over there, which goes through the reverse osmosis. You can turn it really low, kind of let that drip. The wetter the grains get, or the grounds get, the longer it can take. So basically you would keep doing this until this was full. Then I let it brew anywhere from 24 to 48 hours, depending on the coffee. If you're using something like this, and cold brew coffee in general, you want to have a coarse blend, a coarse grind. So if you're going somewhere like that has a grinder, just make sure you put it on coarse. And the reason for that is it makes a nicer coffee. It also helps everything get darker, and it will not leave you with lots of residue below here. The Teccino is going to leave me with a decent amount of residue. And Teccino, the brand, suggests that you actually brew it hot and then just make it cold and drink it that way. But I like it this way. They find that it's too weak. But you saw how much coffee I put in there. So like, look, this is very dark. The dandelion blend definitely has that dark, bitter coffeeness of it. And I'm just do this with my coffee. It's easy to do it with this as well, the Teccino or anything else. You could use cold foam, and you can make a matcha latte. You could use it, actually a lot of times I'll do this, put a little bit of vanilla in here, and then make a London fog with Earl Grey tea. And so by doing it this way, you can sweeten it any way that you want to. I sweetened mine with some maple syrup, and see how, let's see, there you go. You can kind of see how things are slowly going through those teeny, teeny, tiny little holes. You can also make this in a French press. So French press, we wouldn't be doing it this way. We'd add our coffee and then add our water, move the plunger to the top, let it sit 24 to 48 hours. You can put it in the fridge. In the summer, I put it in the fridge. And then just press the plunger and get your cold brew out. And so there's really very little reason to buy pre-brewed cold brew at the store. It's kind of expensive. I do it if I'm on a trip. If I know I'm going to stay somewhere for 4 to 5 days, instead of spending $20 a day at Starbucks, I will get a big thing of cold brew for like $10 or less, and probably some special milk. I'm trying to think of what I usually like to get. I'll probably get Oatly or something like that. I'll get something that is a treat milk for me. And at home, and we can do this later too, because I'm going to show you how to make some syrups, not today, but coming up, and then I wanted to show you 2 syrups, and we'll talk about the different versions of this. So a lot of you guys don't use sugar. This is not for you. Okay, if you don't use sugar, I will give you another alternative, I promise, before this is done. There's the regular Torani vanilla, which is if you get a vanilla latte at Starbucks or most places, this is what you're getting. And if you go on Amazon and in the carousel, I have a natural version, so it doesn't have any of the weird stuff in it, which is helpful. There's also lavender syrup. There is a recipe on healthyslowcooking.com for a coconut sugar lavender syrup, and we might make that next time, but you can also purchase lavender syrup. If you're getting lavender lemonade some places, a coffee shop in particular, or a lavender latte, chances are this is what they're using. To make your own lavender syrup, literally I heat up 2 cups of water, maybe a cup to 2 cups of sugar I'll add in and just stir until it dissolves. And then I will put in about 1 to 2 tablespoons of culinary grade lavender buds. And then you let it steep until it cools, and then you strain it through a fine mesh strainer. So that way you could use coconut sugar if you wanted to, or vegan sugar, anything that you want in particular. So as far as a refined sugar-free option, so some people consider coconut sugar refined sugar-free, some people don't. You could also make a date caramel syrup, kind of. So basically what you're going to do is soak probably about a cup or 2 of dates. Let's start with a cup. And then reserve the liquid, drain them, put them into a blender with just enough water to puree it really well and make it the consistency you want. So you can thin it out as much as you want, but start with it thicker. Add a little bit of vanilla and then add that in, and you've got caramel coffee, which is amazing. And I've used that a lot. So the rest of this is going to take some time, but you guys get the idea. And so what happens, and this is, I just poured stuff in here, is then I take this out and the strainer comes with it, taking most of the grounds. And so it makes for an easy cleanup. But see how dark that is already? So again, I just wanted to tell you though, that's my perspective on this Teccino and not someone else's. But I love the fact that I just do this when I'm cleaning up, or maybe I'm just getting ready to go to bed or something like that. Again, if I didn't fill it up so full, I wouldn't have to go quite so slow. Whoop. I got to figure out how to make that not happen. Okay. So, and again, the French press version is in the Easy Vegan Cookbook. And actually, I can show you that while we're waiting for this. Perhaps, if I can remember where it is. Oh, there we go. 192, is it there or is it in the beginning? So what are you guys up to today? I am teaching a class later today. Let's see, 192. Is it really back here? I don't think it is. That's just the latte. Where does it say to get the coffee? Page 195. So you guys can see this. Literally, that's what it is. It's ridiculously easy. I'll put the overhead on. You put the coffee and the water in, you let it sit for 24 to 48 hours. You slowly push the thing down until all the coffee grounds are in the bottom, and then ta-da! You have cold brew coffee. Okay. So another thing I wanted to show you, 2 things. We'll leave these over here. Is one more thing with the Vitamix. And with that, we will also make up some Joy Creamer. So you need a blender to do this. So one of the things that I've tried to do is take a teaspoon of this, or a tablespoon, and use the manual frother and it's just not good enough. You really do need to blend up some of it first. And this basically is a cup. This is the base that's going to fit on the Vitamix that lets it be a smaller blender. So what you want to do is this, but what you should do is this, right? So I'll let you see what we're going to do. We're basically going to take a couple of tablespoons of this, which is just like a nut blend. This is the only thing I don't like about the Joy creamers, is that sometimes I feel like I lose some. And it's not inexpensive, but they are delicious, and this one froths like a champ. And so again, it's the JOI, or I'm calling it Joy brand, and this is the plant-based creamer concentrate. Okay, so we're going to add some water, obviously. And they suggest 2 tablespoons to about a cup of water. And we'll start there. We can always thin it out, but it's harder to make it thicker. Okay. Now at this point too, if I wanted to make this a sweeter creamer or sweetened, I could add a soaked date or something else. Let me let you see this from the side. Okay, so you're taking this, putting it over, getting it even, which is always a hardship for me. Is it really even? It looks even, feels even. Let's find out. Yay! All right. Okay, I think I'm going to have to scrape some of that, or I'm going to try and actually, some of the nut butter is stuck at the top. So I'm going to see if I can do it without scraping and just kind of try to loosen it up a little bit. This off. Now one thing I will say is you have to always rinse this first, and I'll show you closer from the overhead, is this will get dry and gunky. So just don't even try to play with it. Just rinse it immediately and you will be a happier human being. And I'm going to get a mug and then we'll froth some of that so you can see how it froths. And I'm just going to use the handheld frother again. And it's frothed some just by being in there and getting mixed up really well. But it will froth even more with the frother. And I do like this little stand this one comes with. And I'm queen of putting too much in here and frothing it outside the glass. And what I do if I'm making tea or something like that, I'll go ahead and froth up the milk really well, and then just, you could pour an espresso shot in there. You could pour your tea in there. And it's frothed really well. It does not have the tight frothiness that it had before, but there's definitely more frothiness on here. You can see that. Okay. Do you guys have any questions about any of this? So we used Teccino, which I've got a bag here, to start making this cold brew that I'm going to finish off. And this is cold brew coffee substitute. And so you can do that if you don't want caffeine. If you have any favorite coffee, and honestly, I've done it with pre-ground coffee as well, though I will say more will come through this strainer for the coffee. And if you want to be really particular, what you can do is put a coffee filter in a fine mesh strainer and let it pour through that as well. So it's totally up to you. That it's easy. And like I said, you could do this in a French press to make it easier and hold the grounds back, or just shake it up in a mason jar, leave it for 24 to 48 hours, and then just strain it through a fine mesh strainer and you should be good to go. Okay, so that is like the super long version of my coffee routine. But basically I'm having a cold foam maple iced coffee today. So what are you guys having? I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments, and I will see you guys. Some of you guys I'll see at 4 today, and others I will probably see tomorrow, and I'll do something else super fun for us. Okay? Have an amazing, amazing rest of your day.